I was born in Seoul and then I came to the US when I was 4. I go back every single summer, and one summer I was kind of given the chance to audition for this huge entertainment company in Korea, and they called back and they wanted me to sign a contract with them to join this girl group in Korea that's actually doing very well now. So I was training under that label for 4 to 5 years, but my parents didn't want me to really go that route, so what ended up happening was I went back and forth a lot. I went to Korea for winter and summer breaks, and then I came back for school, and I continued my academic studies here while I went back every single vacation. And in 2007, this girl group called Girls' Generation was supposed to debut, and my parents they were not bending and they didn't want to sign this contract. Yeah, I mean, I went back and forth afterwards to do some little modeling here and there, but I think I've always kind of had that in the back of my mind. So after college, what I did was I went back to Korea and I went into a few meetings with different labels, and the second label that had reached out was basically like another huge entertainment agency in Korea too. And I took a couple acting lessons, and when they actually gave me the contract to sign, myself, I was of age by that time, I just couldn't sign it for some reason. I felt like, I've kind of matured out of that stage. So yeah, I came back and this is where I am now. When I was vigorously going through training in Korea, every single week we would have something called profile filmings. And what this is they would make you stand in different angles and just get different shots of you. And they would kind of tell you, oh, you look weird at this angle, or you look a little fat at this angle, turn a little this way. And what they would also do is they make us stand in a line, us heavier girls, and they would make us go on the scale, and they would call out what your weight is in front of all of the girls, all of the guys, and if your weight had not gone down from the week prior, then we would kind of get bashed on. And I just remember thinking that this was such a shocking thing to me because I had grown up in the States, and I was always, I grew up in a culture where you're supposed to embrace that kind of stuff, and weight was just, was just simply a number. But in this world of entertainment in Korea is very competitive, and all of the girls are, super stick skinny, and always having been compared to these girls and, compared to people that are always better or are always prettier, I think that's when I really started to dig that hole and just kind of want to always hide if I didn't live up to anybody's standards. And I guess that is also where I started to develop these internal issues that I have had. And another big thing that I always remember is that I would go to the dermatologist in Korea and try to get, skin treatment because I have very bad acne-prone skin. And they would always kind of recommend, oh, why don't you put some filler in here, or there's this type of surgery that makes your face look smaller, or why don't you build something on the bridge of your nose to make it look higher, and just things like that. And I always remember thinking, at first it was so bizarre to me. It was so foreign to me, the idea that people would do anything to their faces to look nicer for others. And I think as time went by, though, these things start to kind of brainwash you, and I've always considered like, oh, hey, maybe I should do that, or it's okay to do that kind of stuff because other girls are doing it. But yeah, eventually I didn't cave in, and I just came to the realization that it's just not worth it. When I came back to the States, that's when I went to college. I went to NYU, and I think for everybody, when they're going to college, they kind of think that it's a new beginning for them and they're going to meet different people, and if anything, you know, you can kind of change your own character and be this new different person. And that's exactly how I felt, because throughout high school, throughout middle school, when I was going back and forth to Korea, I've always felt like 2-3 different people all the time, like doing all these different things and coming back to the States and trying to adapt to just studying, and then going to Korea and being this super active person where, you know, I was kind of the center of attention and people are doing your makeup for you and putting clothes on for you and stuff like that. So it was really difficult kind of adapting to each, I guess, setting and situation every year. But yeah, when I went to college, I really thought that, you know, I could just be this new girl, and I wanted to make new friends. I started to go out a lot, and I tried meeting different people and joining different clubs. But what I quickly realized is that there are a lot of international Korean students at NYU, and one international student recognized who I was and kind of, I guess, told another friend that, oh yeah, hey, that's the girl that was in Korea and was doing different things there, and she was supposed to be the celebrity, and she was supposed to be a part of Girls' Generation. And just rumors started to spread and people started to talk about me, and I'd just walk into like a coffee shop, and I'd walk into Starbucks, and a group of Korean students would kind of stand behind me, and I can see them pointing their fingers at me and being like, hey, you know, that's that girl. She's not as pretty as we thought she'd be. She's fat, she's ugly, and just things like that. And I would hear all of that, you know, I'm right there. I think at that point I just started to kind of block people out of my life, and I started to stay home a lot and just focus on my studies and not meet people as much as I used to. And I found myself more and more kind of digging this hole deeper and deeper. So all these different problems, I guess, kind of just started to, you know, stack up on themselves. And I think this all manifested into something that where I was being hard on myself, and I started to think, you know, yeah, I am really ugly and I am really fat. And the way that people started to judge me became who I was. And I think that's when I started to kind of develop all these different problems, or I had a bad case of an eating disorder, and just in a matter of a couple months, I think I dropped about like 20 pounds. And at my height right now, I'm about 5'7", 5'8". I only weighed about 90 pounds at my worst. And yeah, I think during that time, I just felt very lonely, and I felt like I had to live up to all these people's standards of, you know, always trying to make myself up and be thin and look good in clothing and whatnot. And people would always ask me, even now, that, you know, don't you regret not having done that work in Korea? Don't you regret not becoming a celebrity and becoming famous? But I think at that time, throughout college, when I was having a hard time with myself, yes, there were huge parts of me that did miss that work and did miss being in that field and did miss being in that spotlight. But as I've grown out of it and as I've aged, I'm more than thankful, if anything, that I didn't, you know, I ended up not doing that field of work. And I'm thankful that my parents actually didn't sign that contract for me in the end, because I think they weren't trying to block me from what I wanted to do. They were trying to save me from it. And I see so many of my friends that are still in the industry struggling with their self-image and just struggling with the things that people say about them. And I don't think that that would have been a healthy place for me personally. So when I was going through different bouts of eating disorders, I had to take a year off of school actually in between, and I went back to Korea to spend some time with my dad and just kind of find myself again and take this time to heal. And while I was there, I just really became immersed in the Korean culture and especially the food there. And I found myself looking through a lot of cookbooks and just trying different recipes at home, and I found this happy place for myself where I really enjoyed it, and I started to actually eat like a normal person, and I spent a lot of time with my family just building our relationship again over food and over the dinner table. And when I came back to the States after my leave of absence, I decided to change my major to nutrition and food studies, and that's what I pursued. And I really wanted to take that and become like a food writer and kind of get that message out there. This is how I healed, and this is how I want to help people kind of use the knowledge that I gained while I was in Korea to, to find themselves again. And I really wanted to dig deeper in trying to help women feel comfortable with themselves and comfortable in their skin and regain the confidence that they may have lost. And I wanted to reach out to people that, were going through the same things that I had gone through. So I started doing some beauty writing on the side, and what I really wanted to advocate was natural beauty and a way to use beauty not to imprison yourself and not to hide behind makeup or skincare, but to really improve yourself and improve the way that you look so that you can regain that confidence. Because now I always think like it's so important to trust yourself and to really love yourself. And I know it sounds very cliche, but you have to have that self-respect in order to feel confident in your own skin. And just like you love a family member or you love a significant other, you always have to love yourself unconditionally too, and not live by other people's standards and think that I have to look a certain way or act a certain way to please someone, because that's not really being yourself. And if there's a weakness that you want to improve in, then you find people, you find friends that will fill that void for you. And you just meet friends that will bring out your strengths and love you for who you are, so that you're always surrounded by positive feelings.